Hours after U.S. revealed that it was sending troops to safeguard Syrian oil, the Russian Defense Ministry has put out satellite intelligence images claiming that oil from Syria was smuggled under the guard of U.S. servicemen during the war against ISIS terrorists. These are the images that Russian authorities have put out. They claim that oil was actively extracted and massively exported for processing outside Syria. All of this, Russia claims, happened under the protection of U.S. troops before and after defeat of the Daesh terrorists. Slamming the U.S. decision to move troops to eastern Syria, Russia's defense ministry has said that Washington had no mandate under international or U.S. law to increase its military presence in Syria, and said that its plan was not motivated by genuine security concerns in the region. The statement further read that U.S. troops and private security companies in eastern Syria are still protecting oil smugglers who make more than $30 million a month. Well, let's go to Chile now, where the military has lifted curfew in San Diego after a week of unrest. Now, the latest coming in is that protesters have returned to the streets of the capital. Chileans gathered in main plazas demanding President Sebastián Piñera's resignation and a new constitution. Protesters are calling the latest move a way for people to swap powerful positions. This comes after Piñera had called for a cabinet reshuffle in response to the massive wave of demonstrations. As many as 1 million demonstrators took to the streets as the protest moved into its 8th straight day. Masked protesters hurled petrol bombs at the police and set barricades on fire to show their anger against the government's economic policies. The police retaliated by firing rubber bullets and tear gas at the protesters. Water cannons were also deployed in a bid to disperse the protesters. The violence came in at the end of a rather peaceful afternoon of protest. The demonstrators were banging pots and blowing whistles to demand economic reforms. Protesters also took to the streets in the city of Valparaiso. Demonstrators waved flags and burned a pile of debris as the riot police officers looked on. Adding to the unrest, truck drivers are holding a strike against the high road tolls. Traffic was snarled along some major access points to San Diego as tractors, trucks, cars and taxis honked and slowed to a crawling speed. Now, one of the banners read, "No more tolls, enough with the abuse." The protesters, in fact, have continued despite President Sebastián Piñera's pledge to push forward for social reforms. At least 19 people have been killed in the violent protests so far. The protests have started over now scrapped increase in the subway fares and now pose a threat to stability in the South American nation.